Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to one of my FutureFight Vanguard series. First of all, I just wanted to say sorry that I haven't uploaded a video in a while for you guys. Basically, I got stuck on a video idea, and I was trying to toy with it for a while, and then I actually got busy in real life, getting a new job and all this stuff. But now that I'm settled, I am back, and we are going to be reviewing today the Harri deck from Character Booster 3. So basically the deck idea that I got stuck on is making Harri itself good, because I couldn't seemingly come up with a deck build that was even decent. I don't understand why they made Grand Blue so good, and it's like a parallel to Pale Moon, but they made Pale Moon so bad. But I was actually able to come up with two different decks. Um, one's and I'm just gonna be showing you guys one today, and let's get right into it. Oh man, clicked the wrong thing. Haven't done this in a while. All right, so we are in the testing screen. Let's flip all of our G units. Ba-ba-bum. Alright, let's get right into the deck, guys. So, the first thing that I want to say is you guys might be like, oh, you're not running the new cards. Well, every time I ran the new cards, I just felt like the build was bad, and overall it just didn't do that great. Um, so I just kept trying out builds and trying out builds and trying out builds until it was great. Um, so this is the build that I ended up settling on, or one of them anyways. And so, yeah, I'm gonna show you guys this one. It pretty consistent, prevents you from decking out. Very good defensive turns, okay offensive turns. Um, but yeah, let's get right into it. So we have 4 Mass Magician Harri. This is the original Harri. The there is a brand new Grade 3 Harri, but in my opinion, it's poop. It's not very good at all. So we'd still opt to run the new or the old Harri, kind of like you in Night Rose, you run old Night Rose instead of new Night Rose. Even though new Night Rose is way better than new Harri, in my opinion. But this has a Generation Break 2. When it attacks a Vanguard, choose one card from your soul, call it to rear guard, and that unit and this unit get plus 3k. So GB2 can call a unit, it makes Harri 14, and then whatever you call, probably a grade 2, will be 12k, assuming that's a 9k. The most important part of its ability is Magia during your turn. When your G unit strides, you can pay the cost to Soul Charge 1, and then you choose a card from your soul, call it to rear guard, and that unit gets plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn. So pretty standard, pretty good. Something that I like about Pale Moon is that they can fill up their entire board for nothing, literally nothing. Sometimes one counterblast. So it's very, very good to not waste cards from your hand, etc. We do run 4 of the Legion, Cracking Beast Tamer. So the reason that we run Legion is because when we go into grind games where, we'll obviously face stuff like Luard or Gear Chronicle, or basically decks that don't deck out. So in order for us not to deck out and kind of keep up with them, we run Cracking Beast Tamer so that we can keep rewriting and legioning back our things. I should have, in hindsight, put a unit in here that's Soul Blast, to Soul Blast the Legions out to after I ride it, to Legion it back into the deck. But we never made it that far so that we would have to Legion that many times where that mattered. So it's also very good to be on this on a defensive turn, because you can place rear guards from your soul using Blasty Bunny or Purple Trapezis, and then mixed with Spicy Clown. So basically you have Cracking Beast Tamer will every time a rear guard is placed out from the soul, if you have a Spicy Clown on the field, then Cracking Beast Tamer gets 5,000 power, which is amazing because you can literally call this out from your soul, and then you call these two out, and then instantly it's plus 10,000 power. So very, very good. Actually, it's plus 14 because you're calling Spicy Clown out as well. Uh, so we do have 3 of the Legion Mate in this deck. Barking Sky Tiger. It's basically that just says when your unit's placed on rearguard circle, if your Vanguard's in Legion, it gets 3,000 power. It's not that relevant unless we get to the late game, but it's good to just run 3 just because it's a Legion Mate of this. We have 4 Spicy Clowns. Obviously, like MVP grade 2 in the deck. It's kind of like a Nurse of Broken Heart, where it allows you to, every time you place a card from your soul, you choose one of your Vanguards, that unit and this unit gain power. So it allows you to do a lot on your defensive turns and offensive turns. If you can just call out like 4 units from your soul, that's plus 8k to your Vanguard and plus 8k to itself as well, making it 17 by itself. Then we run 2 Dancing Princess of Night Sky. Still a very good card, even though it's 8k. You counterboss 1, and you can choose any grade 2 or less Pale Moon card from your deck and put into your soul. So it really helps us get the engine going when we do get it, and choosing cards that go into the soul that we need for later on, depending on the matchup. We do run 2 Flying Peryton. This is basically just to either make good columns or call out, like sometimes I use it to call out a Harri crit or a Rainbow Magician if I want to give on hit pressure to my opponent of putting a draw trigger back to my deck. And so it basically lets you oh, sorry guys, my headset randomly turned off. But yeah, Flying Peryton basically lets you soul charge 1, and you choose a card from your soul, and then you can call it to the same column as the unit, or the same column where Peryton's in. So moving on, it's pretty good for just making numbers. But moving on, we have 4 Stride Fodder. Pretty standard. The new one looks really, really good though. If you guys are building this deck, get the new one. For our PGs, we are running Hoopmaster. Hoopmaster's standard PG, except for it has a Magia GB1 attached to it. So if you have a Hoopmaster in your drop zone when you play it on the guard circle, you can counterblast 1, soul charge 1, and then you choose a card from your soul and you call it to your front row. So Hoopmaster is the one that gets you massive power when you're on Cracking Beast Tamer, because when you're on Harri, you can actually do it with Harri. You can actually do it with Harri, Hoopmaster, or a heal trigger with the new G-Guard. But since Cracking Beast Tamer doesn't have the Magia ability, you can't G-Guard and do it with Cracking Beast Tamer, unfortunately. But yeah, so Hoopmaster is a very good card. You would just call out Spicy Clown with it, and you could have like 2 Blasty Bunnies to call out 2 Blasty Bunnies from it. And then your Vanguard, if you're Harri, will get plus 4k, and if you are Cracking Beast Tamer, you will get plus 14k. Yeah, so it's pretty good. We run 4 Purple Trapezes just so that we can play it and switch out cards with our soul as needed. Sometimes we also use it to boost up this guy. It's pretty fun. And then we have 2 Blasty Bunny. Pretty standard. It is basically when another Pale Moon card is placed from your soul. If you have a Pale Moon Vanguard, you can call this card to the rearguard circle, and at the end of the turn, you put it back into your soul. So it's basically Magia before Magia. You have Cat and Iron Boots. This card's amazing. Whenever it's called out onto the rearguard circle from your soul, you can choose a card not named it, and then call it to rearguard circle, and then at the end of the turn, you put the unit called with this effect into your soul. So it basically like calls itself. Oh yeah, so its first ability is when another one of your units is placed on Vanguard circle. You can call this card to rearguard. Meaning when you Legion, you're also putting a card onto your Vanguard circle, so you can call Cat Knight out as long as your Generation Break 1. So you can do it when you Stride, and you can do it when you Legion. And then Cat Knight will call another card Obviously, I usually call Spicy Clown because it's usually the beginning of the turn. So for our triggers, we run rainbow triggers. So we run 4 Harry Crit, 4 Mischievous Girl of Mirrorland. Basically, whenever you soul charge her, or whenever she goes into the soul in general. So sometimes I like to play her on the rearguard circle and from my hand and use purple trapezes to suck her into the soul and call something out. And then she can actually move herself back to the deck, and you can search your deck and put any card in your soul and then shuffle your deck. So it's good for recycling stand. Also, it's good to toolbox the cards that you need. We have Rainbow Magician, a draw trigger that can return itself to the deck. If it boosts an attack that hits, you can soul charge one and return this unit to the deck and shuffle. I do wish that I drew a card, but this is a really old school card, like literally original BT3 set. So there's no way that they would put like a draw effect on that. Maybe if they recreate this in like a new form, it would be better to run. And then we run 4 Popcorn Boy, best heal trigger ever. Moving on to the G Zone, we have 1 Fairfield. Fairfield is a very, very good card in this deck. Actually, in all Pale Moon decks. I wish that it was Counterblast 1, because Counterblast 2 is kind of heavy for this deck, but it does have a very good effect. So you Counterblast 2, first of all, you have to be Generation Break 3, but you Counterblast 2, you choose a card from your soul and your drop zone, and you can put them on the bottom of your deck in any order. So usually I choose heal triggers, but you can choose any trigger, you can choose normal units, whatever you want, basically. So then you choose a card from your soul, you call it to rearguard circle, and until the end of the turn, it gets plus 10,000 power and a critical. So, assuming that you already have, it sucks that it's an activation skill and not an auto skill, because I would rather it be an auto skill in my opinion when it's placed on Vanguard Circle, so that you could do a lot more cool combos, but usually we call out Spicy Clown or Barking Sky Tiger, or Periton, because at least that would call another unit, and then it would be like 26k with the crit. So then moving back into the G Zone, we have 1 Prana. This card's not very good in my opinion. It seems like a card that was created to prevent you from losing against Shadow Paladin, but going into it is like so meh that it's like irrelevant almost. I also don't like that you have to move a card from your hand to the soul. So basically its effect is you counterboss 1, choose a face down unit from your G Zone and turn it face up. So usually we go this first stride and flip a Mephisto, or Mephisto, however you prefer to call it. So usually we flip that, and then you choose the same number of cards with the Magi ability from your soul, and you call them to rearguard circle. So usually if we are going to use this skill, usually I just go into it as a first stride, and we don't even use the skill usually because our field is usually full. But if we are going to call a card, we do make sure that we call Flying Periton, because it's literally the only rearguard with Magia in this deck. So that's why Prana is like kind of meh in this deck. But moving on, we have the Grade 4 Harri, which is Generation Break 3. Counterblast 2, choose one of your rearguards and put it into the soul. And when this unit attacks, you can choose up to 3 cards from your soul and call them to separate rearguard circle. Then if you have 5 or more rearguards, your opponent chooses 2 of the rearguards and puts them into the soul. And at the end of the turn, you put the units called with this effect into your soul. Now, Grade 4 Harri is one of my favorite cards in Pale Moon. It's just so good when you have your opponent that has like 2 pesky units on board, or something like that, and then you force them to put the units into their soul. Sometimes you have to be careful though, because it fuels deck soul that don't really get a lot of soul. So if you give them like soul when they don't usually have a lot of soul and they have soul blast effects, it could hurt you in the long run. But it's definitely a very good card. If you call out Purple Trapezist from this card, you can just end up like, let's say that you have a field of a grade 2, and then like Cat Knight right here, but these 2 are open rearguard circles, or sorry, yeah, these two are open rearguard circles. So you attack with this first, and then you can attack with Harry, and then you can move this card that attacked into the soul and call um, a spicy clown, and let's just assume that there's a spicy clown here as well. So you can spicy clown, trapezist, and then literally your opponent puts 2 into their soul, and then you can use trapezist to move this middle unit into the soul, call it out, and use this trapezist to move this card into the soul, call it out, and then these cards will get plus 4k, and then your Vanguard will get plus 8k. So it's pretty good little combo. Next we run 2 Jester, Demonic Dragon, Lunatic Dragon. This card came in handy a lot in my playtest, like a lot more than I thought. It having a crit is just too good. Its other skill is so basically when you place on Vanguard Circle, you immediately flip Lunatic Dragon. And then if you're GB1, then it gets a skill that says when this unit is placed on, when your unit is placed on rearguard from the soul, that unit gets plus 2,000 power, meaning that all your units that come out from the soul that turn get plus 2,000. Not that big of a deal, but Generation Break 3, basically Generation Break 2, when you go into this card, it gets a critical. So it's very good to force your opponent into scenarios where they would like to no guard your Vanguard, but you have to force them to either guard it or take it with a critical. Which a lot of times you go into this, they're at 3 or 4 damage already. So if they're at 4, they definitely can't take hit. But if they're at 3, they are iffy about taking it because we might check a crit and win the game. So then we run 4 Mephisto. Basically Mephisto has a Magia skill that says choose a face down card from your G-Zone, turn it face up. Usually with this we will flip either Mephisto itself or we will flip Millward. So if we've already used all the Mephistos, that is. But this card has an ability that says all your units get plus 1,000 power for each card in your G-Zone face up named Mephisto. So Mephisto, basically, if you have 3 in your G-Zone face up, when you go on to the last one, it will have the ability for all your cards to have plus 3,000 power. Not that handy, but it does have a second ability that says for every 2 cards in your G-Zone with Magia in its ability, you get to call 2 cards from your soul, call 1 card from your soul. And those units get plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn, and then at the end of the turn you put them back into the soul, as per Magia. So it's very good because we run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards with Magia in our G-Zone. So most of the time you're going into this, it's like your last stride of the game. So you get to call like a couple units and have them gain plus 5,000, which is pretty cool. And then we run Millward. Millward is Generation Break 2, Soul Blast 1, and choose a card from your G-Zone, turn it face up. So you choose up to 2 cards from your soul, call them to rearguard circle, they get 4,000 power until the end of the turn. And then if you have a Millward face up in your G-Zone, depending on how many Millwards you have face up in your G-Zone, you get to choose different units, and they get an ability that says when this card's attack hits, you can choose a card from your soul and call it to a rearguard with a unit on it. So I wish that I didn't say a call to a circle with a rearguard on it, but you know, nothing you can do. You can't really call trapezist and like do good plays with it because of Millward. But she's basically just here as like a we almost never get to her with the rest of these guys being around. So she's just there as like basically a soul blast if I ever need to like go into the Legion for some reason, and then soul blast out Legion. Like that's why she's there basically. So we have 1 Sabreeze, pretty standard, stops your opponent from just staying on grade 2 and not being punished. So then we run 2 Maja. When you're on Harry, this card's very, very good. When you're on Cracking Beast Tamer, not so much. So this card has a Magia ability when it's placed on guard circle. If you have a Vanguard with the Magia ability, meaning Harry, this card gets 5,000 shield. and then you can choose a card up from your soul and call it a rear guard. And then if you don't have a card with, or if you don't have a Vanguard with Magi ability, you may soul charge 3. So it's pretty much just vanilla soul charge 3 G Guardian when you're not on a Magia Vanguard, which sucks, but we do run it for Harry anyway. So we run 2 Furnival as our other one. So Furnival says when it's placed on the guard circle, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, put 1 card into the soul, and put the rest on the bottom of the deck. And if the card you put into the soul with its effect is grade 1 or greater, so grade 1, 2, or 3, then this unit gets plus 5,000 shield until the end of the battle, meaning that's a 31k guard. This is also a 31k guard, but it also calls out things, and things will come out of your soul by itself. So Masha ends up being like a more defensive G Guardian. So now that we've run through the deck, let's get into the playtest. Open up area back really quick. Alrighty, so we are gonna load Harry game 1. Alright, so first game we're playing against the new Zodiac Time Beast, which shouldn't even be possible for this new testing. But since I'm doing it late, we are testing pretty much against BT11 stuff, which is cool, you know. Like, I guess if it holds its own, it proves itself even further because it's against stuff that would have been in the future. So we do just choose to, it's pretty normal from here. We're just attacking each other regularly, not getting any triggers. He does check Arca there, so we have to be wary of that he has a PG for the rest of the game. We do play Spicy Clown and the draw trigger. He does take this attack, which allows us to soul charge 1 and move the draw trigger into our deck, and the card that we soul charged is another Rainbow Magician, which is pretty unfortunate because I wanted to check a draw trigger here. But, you know, we can't always win or be winners with plays that we want. So he does ride Chrono Jet, and I guess he chooses not to stride because of just having, he would have had to stride with 3 grade 1s. So it's pretty crappy. I do check a heal, but it doesn't go off, and then he did get a crit, so I take another damage. So I'm now at 4, and I choose to stride into Prana. And then like I was saying, with Prana, we don't really use the skill. Like, I was thinking about taking Prana out altogether after having playtested this build, because Prana like literally doesn't do anything pretty much ever. So we call out Cat Knight, Cat Knight calls out Flying Peryton, and Flying Peryton calls out Rainbow Magician. And then Spicy Clown gets 6k, and Prana, since it's Vanguard, gets 6k from Spicy Clown. We do attack with our rear guard, 13k. He does guard it. Then we attack for 38. And he is deciding if he wants to guard it or not. He does no guard. We do check a Hoot Magician, a grade 3, and a Harry crit, putting all effects to our rear guard. So then we attack for 25. And he has to guard with 2 cards in his hand, and then we move all the cards affected with Magia back to the soul. So we're at like a pretty good point right now. Unfortunately, looking at his hand is still really bad for striding anyways. I think he does decide to stride here with 3 grade 1s. Yeah, and then he, the reason why he picked 2 Arcas is because Arca can return itself from the drop zone to the hand by using its own effect. So I think that was a smart move to return that. He does go into Split Pegasus here and play the grade 1 Chrono Jet card from his hand with Chrono Jet G skill to timely bit into Farm Peacock. Then he uses Chrono Jet G to call a Cruising Dragon. And honestly, guys, I didn't expect much from the Zodiac Time Beast deck when I read all the cards effect, but it's pretty good. Like, if you think about how behind he is and still able to hold up like this well, it's pretty alright deck. Like, it's not complete trash like I thought it would be. Um, but he does use Flip Pegasus skill and target Peacock, and since Peacock can't go back to the deck because of its own ability, you just get to call 2 free grade 1s basically. He is using Arca skill to take an Arca and a regular card and bind them and then return an Arca from your drop zone to your hand. We do PG here. He does check Chrono Jet, a heal trigger, which is unfortunate for us. We would have liked to be able to like pressure him at 5 damage, but I guess he does deserve it because he had such a crappy stride. So he does use Cruising Dragon here, and move this card to the soul. And then he does shuffle, but he's not supposed to shuffle. Also, it was only supposed to be when he attacks Vanguard. But he's trying to attack my rear guard, but we guarded it anyways, just the same as we would have for Vanguard. Right here he goes into his deck, and he tells me that the other 2 cards from Cruising Dragon were heal and a draw, to which I was like, after you shuffled it doesn't really matter. But yeah, we decided to let the clown die because he wants him so bad. And then we do Stride. And this time I believe we are striding into I think we're gonna go into the card with the crit, Lunatic. Yeah, we do end up going into Lunatic Dragon, flipping, and then Cat Knight comes out. Cat Knight calls Periton. We Soul Charge 1 and call out Rainbow Magician just like before. We do decide to use Harry's skill to Soul Blast 1 and call out a Rainbow Magician, gets 5k. So all these cards got 2k because they were called out from the Soul. And then we do attack for 17 to his Vanguard. He does take it, so we do Soul Charge 1 and put Rainbow Magician back into the deck. And then we did Soul Charge Mischievous Girl. So we do put Mischievous Girl back into our deck in exchange for putting a Spicy Clown into the Soul. So we triple drive, we get a stand trigger, standing our rear guard, and then we check a Spicy Clown as our 3rd check. So we get to attack for 16 now. He chooses to double intercept, and then we attack for 18. And then he guards our attack pretty well, and he strides here using the new Zodiac Time Beast Stride Fodder. That Stride Fodder is pretty good in my opinion. Yeah, it's just very good. This is also a very good card. They pretty much stole it from Gold Paladin, but you know, Chrono asked Tayo if he could borrow it, so it's fine, right? So he does use Chrono Jet G to time leap his grade 1 into a Serpent. Split Pegasus being face up in the G zone means that all his Zodiac Time Beasts in the front row get 2000 power, which I think he was missing. I forgot to call him out on a lot of things during this game, but it's because I was paying attention more to like the new skills rather than like the old skills. He does attack me for 16, and I asked him why it was +5 because I thought that was +4, because 2 Split Pegasus equals 2000 power, and then the GB3 of his Vanguard gives 2000 power to all his rear guards with Zodiac Time Beast. So yeah, I did tell him that it was 2000 power and not 3000 power, and he didn't realize, so he goes to change it right now. So this one goes down to 15, which makes a big difference. And this was actually supposed to be 9, but it doesn't even matter because I just took it. So he does attack with his Vanguard, counterboss 1, flip a Phoenix, and then he is going to reveal top 5 cards of his deck, and then call 2 Zodiac Time Beasts, or he can call 2 Zodiac Time Beasts per every card in his G zone. So pretty good. I was telling him to reveal all 5 because the effect says to reveal all 5. I wanted to see what he was going to put back into his deck. So we see a crit, a draw trigger, and a chrono jet. And he does decide to I think he calls one of these triggers, if I don't remember, or if I remember correctly. So he does call the draw trigger, assumedly so that he doesn't get close to decking out, or closer to decking out. We do PG with our Magician. We are using the skill of Hoopmaster to call a card. Oh, we do call Spicy Clown. Oh, yeah, actually we choose to call Dancing Princess of Night Sky, and counterboss 1, move the card to the soul, so we move Blasty Bunny to the soul. Something that I overlooked is instead of PGing, we could have just intercepted with this and not wasted a PG this turn, but I guess it's fine. We did Hoopmaster to call out Spicy Clown and Blasty Bunny, so these two go back to the soul. We stand and draw, and then we just decide to play these cards. We do put Blasty Bunny into soul, calling a Spicy Clown that's in our soul, I believe. And then the 2 Blasty Bunnies that are in there call themselves out, meaning that Spicy Clown gets 4k, Vanguard gets 4k, and then other Spicy Clown gets 6k and Vanguard gets 6k. So overall, Vanguard gets plus 10,000, which is pretty good for a non-GB turn since we couldn't stride. Or we could have, but we didn't want to get rid of those cards in our hand. So we attack for 19, and then we attack for 27. He does G-Guard with the new G-Guard, flipping a G-Guardian and gaining plus 5 for every card in his G-Zone, so it's a no-pass. So we do check a draw and a heal trigger, healing a damage out, which is very important for this coming next turn because I just remembered how this ends. But he does G-Guard again and put back 2 cards with Urlu. And then in turn we put 2 Blasty Bunnies back, and that's about it. So here he does go into Beyond Order, which makes me think like, aren't you gonna deck out? But I guess he didn't have that same thought. I guess he was very focused on using this Nanan-Aya skill. So he used the Vanguard skill to bind top 8, and then this card gets 4,000, so it gets 32k, which I guess is pretty good if you're not about to deck out, but you know. Yeah. This card is like very eh. But yeah, he was gonna attack me with his Vanguard, and I just said no guard because he would deck out if he triple drove before anything would happen to me. Uh, so yeah, I was just like no guard. But uh, basically, we just need to make sure, since he can attack with his Vanguard, that he doesn't hit with this until the last attack. So he does attack just 11. He's doing his second main phase now, as per Beyond Order, and he decides to play 3 cards to the rear guard circle. And at this point, he realizes that it's GG because, um, you know, I can just. Too bad Arca doesn't return to the deck, so he could at least do 1 triple drive. But yeah, he can't attack with his Vanguard at all. If he would have been able to, we might have lost. I can't really say. So then he attacks for, you know, huge number. And then he does attack with his Vanguard. He decides to just kill himself rather than me killing him next turn. So it was a good game. We ended up winning it out. It was a fun match played. But moving into game 2. Man, Area has like this lag about it sometimes that I don't really understand how it works. I wish that someone made a YGO Pro for Cardfight. Wink wink, if you're watching this video and you have the skills, get on that. We need you. Loading up the second replay here. Wow. This time we're playing against the new Nubatama deck, which is interesting because it's another thing where I explained that we weren't supposed to be playing against this deck before, but since Area just updated, we are playing against all of the new GBT11 stuff, which, like I said, it's fine. If it holds up, it holds up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. He does check new Shiranui, we do check Harri, and then we do check a critical. So he's rushing us pretty hard, which is not good for us, but we do check a crit in return. So what he did with his 3 attacks, we did in 1. But he does choose to continue to rush us. So he attacks 10, and he does get a crit, which I'm like, wow, what a sack master. But thank goodness we heal at least one of those damages off, because that was going to be pretty crucial. So we decided to play Rainbow Magician just to put into our deck to give more chances at checking a draw trigger later. We do check a crit too, so we put him up to 4 damage as well. And then we put Rainbow Magician back, and the card that we soul charged is Blasty Bunny, which is very, very good. He decides to stride, and there's no cards for him to dominate on my board. If he actually hadn't had this Furai in his hand, he wouldn't have been able to do much. Which shows, I guess, that Pale Moon has like an innate advantage against domination, at least for the first turn of them striding. But he does decide to attack my Vanguard. I do check a heal when he attacks me with domination, and he chooses to retire that card to have me discard one. So I just discard a grade 3 Harri, no problem. Also, the Harri that was dominated retires itself at the end of the attack. And now he does play a board, so he attacks for 31. I decide to PG it. And I think I have a Hootmaster. Am I? Oh, never mind. I guess not. But we do guard the last one with the 10k and stride into Piranha. So we use Cat Knight to call one. Cat Knight calls Spicy Clown, then Blasty Bunny calls itself. And then we use Harry skill to counter blast one, Soul Blast one. And then we end up calling a Cracking Beast Tamer out of the Soul. He gets 5,000 power. We could have used Piranha, but I was like, what's the point of wasting this card in my hand? So we do check a crit when he no guards Vanguard, which is funny because if we didn't check that crit, we probably would have lost the next turn. So interesting to see how that went, but we basically checked the crit on every single turn, So don't count on that, guys. We only run 4 crits in this deck, so that was pretty lucky of us, to be honest. He also rushed the hell out of us in the early game, so we might have lost to like pure rush alone, had it been a different situation. I might have even said that riding into Cracking Beast Tamer against that matchup would probably be better, because you want power on your Vanguard during the defensive turns, because Domination just hits you for a bunch of puny attacks, basically. But starting on game 3 now, the last game, we were playing against Kagero. So a lot of people have like this misconception about Kagero versus Pale Moon, that it's like a really good matchup for Pale Moon because Kagero can't retire any of your units. While on the other hand, if we call them out from the soul and then they kill them using their defensive kill cards now, it's very unfortunate for us because they don't go back to the soul and we can't reuse them the next turn, which is, yeah, really detrimental. But this person is actually playing Novell, which is pretty cool. He uses the grade 1 skill that made this deck so consistent in the past to get a Dauntless. He does check a stand trigger, so he does run those. We ride to grade 3, and we decide to play nothing because it wouldn't be worth it. Then we just attack for 11. He no guards, I'm guessing, so that he can have counterblast for whatever he plans to do. We do check a heal, which is great because we heal a Hoopmaster out, preparing us for greatness, basically. He does go into this stride, and then use the Blaze stand trigger to return itself to the deck, draw a card, and give this card plus 5k. Now, this is a promo that they only have in Japan, but it basically allows him to retire it whenever it's in the front row if his opponent's blazing, and whenever I guard with the card, he can retire it off the rear guard circle, which is pretty great. So yeah, here I use Purple Trapezist to call out Cat Knight again, and then Cat Knight calls out another card. And then we play the Beast Tamer grade 2. So we do attack for 13, he doesn't let us hit. Then we attack for 37, we do check a stand trigger and a crit trigger, putting all the power to Clown, and then he does guard the 14k. So what I didn't realize about this is that since I called out Cat Knight from Purple Trapezist, it wasn't supposed to go back to the soul. So he does destroy one of our cards. Here we do end up guarding with the 10. And then checks a draw trigger. And then restands, and we guard, and then we no guard. So he did the break right turn. Not overall, not very strong. Even though Novell used to be a really strong deck, it's not like the strongest deck anymore. It can't even really prevent you from healing out at 6 anymore, because usually when you kill, or when you attempt to kill your opponent in this new deck, you're on a stride. So meaning that this skill is non-applicable. So it does affect things here, because we were able to call Cat Knight out again and call it with Purple Trapezist. I just thought that it goes back to the soul no matter what. But yeah, that was like a huge misplay on my part, and for that, I'm sorry, guys. But I do attack for 19k with Spicy Clown, E-Guards, and then I attack for 33, and he uses the new G-Guard, which is where I said it affects things, because he actually killed my Cat Knight in boots, so I was like, oh, you bastard. And from there, I knew that the game was going to go to pretty downhill. You could even run 2 Cat Knight in boots for situations just like this, but it's pretty unfortunate that he killed Cat Knight in boots, because that's like our whole like way that we go off in this deck. pretty much. He does go into the new stride, which is pretty funny actually, because I love doing this to Kagero players when they attack with this card. So basically, you can PG with Hoopmaster using the skill to Soul Blast 1 and call out a unit. And you actually want to call like out as many units as possible. So if I had like Flying Periton, I would call it out, and Blasty Bunny, I would call it out. We'd call out all of them just to make our opponent like choose to not restand or discard like 3 or 4 cards. So our opponent does attack our rear guard here. I think we do just decide to let it go. Then he does attack us for 38. We G-guard into Furnival, I'm pretty sure. Furnival checks top 3. The card that we moved into the soul is the grade 2 Beast Tamer card. And then we do G-guard again, getting Furnival again, and checking top 3, and this time we move a Spicy Clown into the soul. So he does check its stand trigger, which like, damn, he keeps doing that. OP, but we do guard with 2 5Ks from our hand. And then he makes us retire one of the Guardians, so we do have to guard with an additional 5K, which is pretty stupid. But we decided to stride here. I was like highly considering Legion, but honestly we need to like go into like a strong stride to attempt to kill him. We use Harri here to call out Spicy Clown, and then we use Fairfield skill to counter boss 2 and call move a card from the soul and the drop zone back to the deck. Which now we have 15 cards in our deck. Like, I was expecting to check something, but I guess it's just not in the cards for us, so to speak. We do attack him for 19, and then we attack him for 28. He does PG that, and he has 2 G-guards in his hand. So honestly, no matter what I checked, like, I think that he would have been fine. But then we do attack him for 16, and he does intercept. And we move both cards to our soul and end our turn. And now we encounter the second problem with this deck, where it's like, even if we survive this, we don't have counterblast and we don't have Cat Knight left. So it's like, we pretty much are going to die on this turn. And he has 3 heal triggers in his hand. Like, that's OP. Even though he can only use 2 more G-Guardians unless he G-Guards a double on the last attack. But we decided to just take this for hopes of a heal. We didn't even have a PG in our hand, so we lost against the new Kagero deck because that card is broke. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the FutureFight Vanguard video. If you guys liked it, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out all the cool stuff in the description down below. We have some shout outs there. I'm gonna start shouting out my Patreon, my patrons there from Patreon. Thank you to the people that have already donated to my Patreon account. I really appreciate it, even if it's just $1. Check out hoodies. The hoodies came in, so I'm actually wearing one right now. So you guys can check out those and how you can get one of those. And without further ado, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'm signing out, guys. Have a great day. Bye.